And I know a big thing that you wanted to talk about was professionalism in the industry.
Yes.
So is this going to be a rant, or is this going to be like a
PSA maybe?
Okay. So how do you want to tackle the subject?
I've met lots of lovely professional people, and then I've tried to work with people who are so unprofessional that we end up canceling a shoot.
Okay.
A lot of it stems from an attitude of thinking that being a sex worker is consent.
Mm-hmm.
So
they can do whatever they want, or they feel entitled to doing things that they're not.
Yeah. Like, I've gotten dick pics that I didn't ask for from other people in the industry, and I'm like, if I wanted to see what you were working with, that's publicly available, first of all.
Yeah.
But I would have asked.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle sometimes when you're trying to arrange a shoot with someone you've never met before. Mm-hmm. And even sometimes someone comes through a recommendation and it was like absolutely glowing recommendation, but then you start talking to this person and they are constantly trying to postpone a shoot, or I've had at least one person who wanted to not be tested, and it's like, no, obviously not. We're not going to shoot together.
Yeah.
And someone who was on a longer test, and I was like, I think you need to get tested again, and they didn't want to listen, and then it turned out they were sick. So people don't take things seriously a lot of the time, or they think maybe because it's not their full-time job, because it's not everyone's who's in the industry, that they don't put the same professionalism towards it as they would a regular job. Mm-hmm. So they don't show up on time. Lots of time wasting. Drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I was late this morning and I wanted to die.
Well, and I'm happy you showed up, because as I'm sure you can imagine, you get no shows, you get, now and to go back to what you were saying though about the unsolicited, advances and which is basically just in my opinion sexual harassment.
Yes.
So like you wouldn't do that to an office worker. Hey, you want to see my dick? Just
in case you need it, here's a picture of my penis.
Yeah, but in that situation they would actually get fired. So they probably wouldn't do it because
hopefully not.
But it's that is, I guess, one of the drawbacks to the industry is because it is so individualized in that way. Like it is based on everybody's attitude and their own sense of professionalism and work ethic. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're at a company, it's kind of like there's a broad agreement that we all adhere to certain standards.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe professional shoots are a little more like that.
Oh, when I worked with Scoreland and Browsers, it was very like
you had a call time and...
Yeah, call time. Here's the information for everything that you need to bring. Here's what we're going to bring. Here's who's going to be there, like working, lights, camera, everything. So you know everything in advance. Everybody shows up on time. You get to work. And first you sit down and it's like, here's all the paperwork.
Yeah.
So... Whereas sometimes people try and dive right in and it's like, hold on, I need a photo of your ID and I have to check your test. And one person showed up drunk to a shoot, which was not great. I understand if you want to relax, but if you're so over the top to perform, I'm not going to work with you.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, and is that another thing, like over-eagerness? Like, do you feel like, this person might be a little too, into wanting to do something? Or do you think that that's not really as much of a concern?
Sometimes I see that at a stage where I'm still talking to someone and trying to arrange a shoot, and they're... a phrase that I've heard used is guy with a camera, who is just someone who jumped into the industry thinking, yes, I'm going to fuck so many girls.
Yeah.
And is not professional in any way, which you don't always know when you start talking to somebody if that's where they're at.
What their intentions are. Yeah.
Yes. So definitely there's a kind of person who is too eager to jump in and be like, let's go right now. Mm-hmm. So
do you have a specific vetting process that you go through to make sure? Or is it based on referrals that from other people that you know?
Usually I try to work with someone that has worked with someone I know already, which I didn't do in the very beginning because I was literally like picking people up off Tinder.
Okay. So overall though, would you say that your experience, I mean, so with the professionalism, would you say that there's been more good than bad in that arena, or is it kind of split down the middle, or how would you describe it?
At this point, I'd say it's split down the middle. I just had a rough experience setting up shoots for this
trip.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I had a shoot set up, and there was another shoot right beforehand, and my friend who's traveling with me was in that shoot also, and she was like, "Do you want my friend Brooklyn to come too?" And then one girl was like, "Well, I've never worked with her before, so I don't want to work with her." And it's like, first of all, how do you ever work with a new person then?
Yeah.
Like, I'm coming recommended from someone you're already working with.
Yeah. That's kind of close.
And then because of that, that girl was also in the second shoot, and she was like, "Well, I don't want to work with her." So we ended up both of us getting kicked out of both shoots.
Their loss. They lost
I agree.
so much. They lost you don't even know how much you lost with her. Because she's amazing.
Thank you.
So
It's been pretty split recently with people who are either unprofessional or
super professional. Like, oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah, between people who are great to work with and people who I don't even end up getting to the shoot sometimes. Or I work with them and it's like, well, I'm never working with you again. This was a nightmare.
Okay. I mean, has the experience with that kind of soured you on doing the adult work, or is it just you've kind of accepted it at this point that that's what's going to happen?
No, I mean, I have a small pool of people that I work with and that I already know are going to show up on time, going to be ready to work, not going to be weird about stuff. So I just looking to slowly build that group of people so that I know that I have more people to work with and just keep going from there. That's why I only work recommendations now.
And that makes sense. The Tinder route probably was like,
I get hit up by people who are like, "Would you want to come shoot with me?" And it's like, I don't know you. No one I know has worked with you. And you've got 40 followers. So no, I don't think so. You should try and find a girl who's got 40 to 100 followers and see if you guys can work together. And then you work your way up from there.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah. It's harder for guys to get started in the industry. So I do understand. But